Well, hello, wonderful students, and welcome to this lesson. The essential question for this lesson is, how do a character's actions drive the plot of a text? Your standards are aligned to discovering the actions of a plot and to kind of digging deep and analyzing text. We're going to think about the characters and their actions in Acts 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to ask you to do that and evaluate how their actions affect the plot. The first thing I want to ask you is, think about a decision that you recently made. What were the consequences of that decision? An example is, Mrs. DiMascola's daughter was sick last Monday, as you all know, and I had to cancel class. And as a result, I lost an entire work day. So I had to stay home with her. That was a decision I had to make. But unfortunately, the rest of my week was very stressful. I had grading to do. I had assignments to make. I had PowerPoints to put up. I had lots and lots to do because I had missed that one work day. So I made a decision based on something that happened in my life, but it had a consequence, and the consequence wasn't necessarily a great one. I was very busy last week. Another thing is, I planned to cook dinner tonight, and I went and prepped appropriately. I went to the grocery store and I bought all of the stuff that I need for dinner tonight. And as a result, I was well prepared and my dinner was delicious. That is a consequence of the action of going and preparing my meal, making sure I had everything that I needed to do to cook dinner. So it made that come out positively and had a positive consequence. So consequences in literature or in movies or in your own personal lives can be either negative or positive. When they're negative, they tend to start more action and more excitement. Sometimes, right? In books, authors often write about negative consequences that get the readers interested more so in the novel and what's going on. Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare has a lot of negative consequences that happen as a result of decisions that the characters make. However, one of the decisions made, Romeo, who was mourning and so sad over Rosaline, she didn't love him, she doesn't want to be with him, she wants to be a nun, she didn't want anything to do with Romeo. She kind of disses him, and his friends convince him to go to the Capulets' ball. Well, because he goes to the Capulets' ball, that action leads to the consequence that he meets Juliet and falls in love with her. That affects the plot because if he had not gone to that ball, they never would have a story. They never would have met, and we would not have an entire 5-act, wonderfully written story. So I want you to think about the things that went on in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And I want you to think of the actions that some of the characters make, the main characters. Especially with Friar Lawrence. What decision does he make that changes the whole movie? What about Friar John? What about Romeo? What about Juliet? What about Mercutio, Tybalt? What are they doing physically in the play? Their actions that they're doing that change the whole course of the plot. And I want you to think also that writers such as Shakespeare do this intentionally to make the plot more exciting and to make you really more engaged as a reader. So your homework tonight is going to be to review Acts 1, Acts 2, and Act 3, and to make sure that you're thinking of some of those actions of those characters and you can think of a consequence of those actions. And then I want you to evaluate, dig a little bit deeper, and talk about how does this affect the plot. Start analyzing the text. What does this do to the plot? What would happen in the plot and what would not happen because of this decision? And if you guys have questions, let me know. Enjoy.